Hey, you're live, Haley.
Okay, cool. Hi everyone. We are live streaming with Pink Table Talk. I have here three beautiful women and Dr. Candace, who's my co-host, um, and my mom, who's kind of just hanging out there. But today is a really, really cool group because we have three different various stages of the Black breast cancer, the Black breast health experience, right? So we have Cassandra, who is on our Young Women's Advisory Board. I'll let everyone explain who this, tell their own story in a minute, but just to give you like the lineup. Yeah, Cassandra's on our Young Women's Advisory Board, and I believe she has no family history, but was a part of a friend's care support team. Ari, we all know Ari very well. Nia, Ari was stalking you this week and fell in love with you. So
I saw her.
Okay, good.
Okay, let's go.
Literally, after she saw your name here, and then I talked to her about it, she's like, was stalking. She's like, oh my God, I love her. And I was like, I know you will meet soon, I promise.
Like liking all her pictures. Sorry.
Exactly. And then we have Dr. Nia Bailey, who has become a recent friend and just like exudes amazing energy all the time. So happy to have you as well as somebody who does have a family history, I believe, correct?
Past family history, yes.
Yes. And so again, we can talk more while you got into the work. And then Miss Jennifer Johnson, also a newer friend in the Oakland area, who is a survivor thriving, but also has older kids that she's now talking to about this information. So I really think we have a really awesome spectrum. But now I'll pass it off so everyone can introduce themselves. Dr. Candace, go.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Pride Month. I'm Dr. Candace Thompson. I am a breast surgeon at Stanford Healthcare. I practice both in Emeryville and Pleasanton, as well as the main campus. I'm really excited to be part of Pink Table Talk with Haley, talking about young women and breast cancer, specifically African-American women and breast cancer, because it's a really important topic. As we know, Black women under the age of 35 are 2 times as likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer and 3 times as likely to die from breast cancer. So this is very important. And thank you for joining us this Sunday.
Yes, Dr. Nia.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you, all beautiful Black women. I love it. So I became a radiation therapist because my father had prostate cancer, and I'm a really strong daddy's girl, so I had to be in the same field that helped my father. But while in that being in clinic, I've noticed so many young women being diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm like, what is going on? You know, my youngest patient was 24 years old and she passed away. And I'm like, you look just like me. We have the box braids together. We have the ankle bracelet and, you know, you're not here, but I'm here. So that's really when I started to investigate what the H is going on. And then I created a breast cancer documentary just to bring awareness to young women, because I think we don't know that we can get breast cancer. So it's called A Letter to My Sisters, a breast cancer documentary for young women, and just trying to educate women regarding the disease, breast health, prevention, knowing your family cancer history, clinical trials, and such like that. And in particular for myself, because I do have a family cancer history. Everybody in my family, minus my mom, has cancer. So it was really important for us to get involved and to not only educate the community, but ourselves.
Awesome. Miss Jennifer Johnson.
Hello, I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I am a healthcare strategy and ops leader, but also a triple negative breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer at the age of 38. And as a person who has always been in healthcare operations, I'm also a health coach. It was definitely a surprise for me, but I'm later coming to realize probably like, you know, it's my God's work, just further word about it. But stage 1, I went through chemo, radiation. Now, you know, I have my 1-year-old daughter. She's like the new breast cancer champion out there, just kind of spreading the word, making sure that she knows her girls and is spreading it to the other women who looks like us, like you were saying, Dr. Nia. We all, you know, to see other women who are young and Black with the box breaks, and you know, you're never too young to learn and start. So I'm happy to be a part of this journey with you all.
Yeah, you and your daughter are identical, literally identical. It's a joy seeing you guys. They were on a mom-daughter Zoom for Mother's Day, and they were the cutest. And obviously, you guys know how I feel about my mom. So like, love mom energy, and your mom as well. Like, love mom energy. Yeah, and so now we have Cassandra, who we can see now, and Cassandra's amazing. I've now had the pleasure of meeting her a couple times. And so yeah, tell us who you are.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here today. I am Cassandra Love, and I am part of the Touch Advisory Board. So I've been very familiar with just looking at the different materials and seeing how we can spread the word about breast cancer and with younger women. As you kind of mentioned earlier, I have a close friend of mine that was diagnosed very early, like 19 or 20. So just realizing and learning more about how it affects Black women differently is very important, and spreading that as well is very important.
Ari is her good friend. And so like, yeah, that's why being a part, like Ari has brought her into the fam. So now Cassandra's fam. And Cassandra, you don't know this, but I voluntold Nia to also be a part of the Young Women's Advisory Group. So
Okay,
which now Jennifer, let's call it your daughter and get her on there too. Because again, this campaign is about, can you speak my voice, right? It has to be the voice of all young Black women. What are all the things that we wish we knew about this disease beforehand? What are the things that we would still need to know? What's changing? What do we need to keep on getting new knowledge about? Because there has been some new knowledge, which is amazing. So first, I just want to ground us in who is what is LMG, what is Touch? And so I'm going to pull up our little fun video, and I am going to open a separate tab because no one needs to know how bad of a tab hoarder that I am. It is nasty up in here, but it's fine. Cool. Let me share my screen, do the whole sharing of everything. Cool. So I love to just walk people through the website. If you have been cluing into my very awkward Instagram lives called My Monthly Moment, you will see not only my awkwardness, but also all the resources on this website. So Love of My Girls is just like so fun and inviting. We'll start with the video, then I'll walk you down the page, and then we'll talk about how we all relate to this information. Girl, 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 for the love of my girls.
Black women under 35 get breast cancer at 2 times the rate of white women.
And die at 3 times the rate.
It's up to us to take care of our girls.
The only solution is conversation.
I choose Black Breast Health because protecting my girls means protecting all Black girls.
I unlock my her story by talking with my family about our shared health history to know my personal risk.
I get to know my girls as an act of self-care. Are you ready to get in touch with your girls? Visit
loveofmygirls.org to get in touch with your girls. Watching that again actually just brought me a lot of joy because I feel like I haven't watched it in a minute. And for the first time, I was at the TNBC party, and for the first time, a young woman came up to me and said, "Haley, I used your resources online and advocated for better screening at my doctor's office." And it was like, yes, yeah, like it was like the first time that someone said that to me. And she was of Indian descent, and so it just meant that like, we're transcending race, we're transcending age, we're giving people materials that really work, you know, and it was so nice to hear. Also exciting because I'll announce this at the end again, but we're doing New York City Pride. So if anybody wants to come join, please come. Gonna deck out my little Beetle convertible and blast some crazy music. But what reminded me was those skates, because we can skate at Pride. So we have some really fun giveaways as well. We'll talk about more events at the end. But anyways, Candace, I wanted to check in. How was your event yesterday? She's been doing these amazing events in California. And so I want to bring just shine some light on that before we really get into talking. How was your event?
Thanks so much for asking. So I'm doing monthly seminars in the Oakland area for anyone who's in the area and interested. It's sponsored by Stanford Cancer Institute and in partnership with Touch. And basically, I'm just touching on different topics each month surrounding breast health and breast cancer, especially for the Black community. Yesterday's was about genetics and genomics. It was really good. We talked about sort of what you guys were already talking about before with having a family history and how it's important to start with talking to your family about your family history, talking to your doctor starting at age 25 so you can start to get a risk assessment so that we can determine whether or not you need to get earlier screening. And then if you have a strong family history, getting genetic testing. So we talked about all of those things. It was great.
It's so important too, because like I honestly didn't even ask the question until halfway through this year, which is I'm coming up my first year of being dedicating my life to boobs. And it was like 6 months in that I actually asked somebody, what is the difference between genomics and genetics? It was something that I didn't actually truly differentiate in my head, right? And so can you do actually a brief comment on that before we move on?
So whenever we're talking about genetics, we're talking about specific traits or mutations that are passed on from your parents down to you or from you down to your children. When we're talking about genomics, typically when we talk about cancer genomics, we are thinking about the genome of the cancer itself that you specifically have and the mutations that are within that cancer. And it's tied to something called precision medicine, where we can, for some of the mutations that are found within the tumor itself, we have certain medications that can specifically target that area in order to better control diseases that aren't targeted or aren't controlled with our conventional medications. So it's sort of two different things. They're both looking at genes, but genetics is more looking at your whole genome, and genomics is looking at the whole genome, but we are normally referring it to looking at the tumor itself and the genetic mutations within the tumor.
Thanks. So important because like they sound slightly similar.
Yes.
They're the Latin origin of the names, but there's actually nothing similar, or like they're just like two different parts of the journey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which gets us back to our topic. So I would love for all the women here to kind of try. I mean, this is a roundtable conversation. Chime in when you need to, but I'd love to really just hear your stories and how you guys got into Black breast health and where are you on your journey of Black breast health. And Nia, this is like, I also want to hear about the documentary and all that good stuff. And then what made you do that, you know?
Okay. So yeah, I'll start. So number one, Candace, I know you said don't say Dr. Candace. Thank you for breaking that down because that's very, you said it in layman's terms and I really understood it. Because although I'm a radiation therapist, sometimes I'm like, what did you just say? So I appreciate you breaking that down. That's amazing. Thank you. So my own journey of Black breast health, I've always wanted to know my family history, period. And in knowing my family history, period, I started knowing the cancer history of it. And it's so funny because, you know, my family's from a little town called Enoree, South Carolina. So anything that they ever had, it was like a secret. Nobody knew anything. So my mom sort of broke that that tradition coming from Philly to South Carolina. And she was like, well, how did you die? What's wrong with you? And they started, you know, divulging what's wrong. And so because of her, I know too much about her, but it's good because it helps me. And with that information, I was able to take it to my doctor and say, hey, everybody in my family has cancer. I'm gonna need you to help me out. So, you know, I did genetic testing, and then I know that I have a gene. I also get breast mammograms and MRIs. It kind of switches. So like 1 year I'll get a mammogram, the next year I'll get a breast MRI. So it's really cool because I know that if I ever get diagnosed, they're tracking me and it will be hopefully at a, you know, a low stage, right? But the reason why I did the whole documentary is because, you know, Black women, we get the business. We get cancer, we get this. I just feel like everything just falls on our shoulders. And I really wanted to share women and their stories being so young and letting people know that, hey, unfortunately, we can get it, but listen, your story is important. And the quicker you find out, the better usually your prognosis is. So I was tired of looking at presentations. I was tired of looking at papers. So I said, you know what? Let's do a documentary, because I love documentaries and I love movies. So I thought that people would also be interested in that too. I started at, how old am I, 30? I think 27, 28 when I started.
Yo, my
And
mom loves to be very active in these moments, even if she's not in the chat, she's texting.
It's
God.
fun. It's
So
fun.
like, no, but it's a family affair at all
Yeah.
times.
But
So
it's so funny, like even earlier on, I knew I had fibrocystic breasts, and that was like at 24, 25. And I would tell my doctor, feel my breasts, they feel lumpy. And she was like, you're fine. And my mom would be like, and mind you, I said 24, 25, but somehow Narda's in the picture. And she was like, she needs an ultrasound. And, I would get in, everything's fine. But I've always sort of had a baseline of what my breasts look like and feel like.
that's so unique too, because I feel like so many young women don't know, or like these steps and these things, when like really this should be taught in health class when you get your period as a young person. It just should. So Candace, remember my friend Sloan that was on a couple months ago?
yeah.
So she's a good friend of mine who like just literally got into breast health because I'm in breast health, and her brother went to college with my fiance. Like there's like many different reasons as why we may not have met in life, but we are now great friends. Love her. She went to go try to get a mammogram recently because she's now invested in this work.
Mhm.
And had an aunt die in her 30s of breast cancer. Couldn't tell more of that story really, but knew that at least. And the doctor legitimately told her, that's not a concern. That's not that does not mean you're a high risk or anything, which is so crazy because we hear 35 in our minds and think, oh my God, is it TNBC? Like that's young, and so it's just like,
Was it her mom or her father's sister, or
her
was it
father's sister.
Okay.
So again, it's just one of these things where it's like, I mean, she like illegally took pictures of her scans, but it's just one of these things where like we say, here's our family history, here's our thing. And she just got dismissed and had to like argue for the things that she needed. And she
Did
did
she eventually
she got the ultrasound, and good, you know what I mean? But it was just like, as somebody who, this was a month ago, this is literally a month ago. So like, this is where we are still today.
Did she see specifically a breast specialist? Because sometimes not all doctors see patients all the time with genetic mutations or who have family histories or can adequately do a full risk assessment for the patient. So I think I would strongly encourage, if anyone who's watching comes up against that, where the doctor's not concerned and you have a close relative with breast cancer under the age of 50, then I would recommend requesting a second opinion or to see a breast specialist. Typically that's a medical oncologist or a breast surgical oncologist, so that they can go through things with you and better evaluate whether or not you're at risk and if you qualify for genetic testing and early screening.
Just now, I'm learning more about from our co-founder Valerie Worthy. She's a nurse navigator at Duke, how the system is really working with like a community hospital versus going to where you find those more specialized doctors,
Exactly.
because they're sometimes afraid to send them because then they're losing a patient, right? And so there's this moment of like, is this about money? Is it about helping people? We all strike our balance with that anyways. Those are like, I don't even have formulated thoughts because this is a new concept in my mind to like think about that transfer.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, that can be the case sometimes, although it shouldn't. Obviously, if someone is specialized in an area and a patient needs that specialized care, then they should be seeing those doctors. So it really shouldn't be an issue. I think it's becoming less of an issue, but in some rural places, it may still be an issue.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Jennifer, tell us your story and how you got here, because I know that a large part of the way that you've told your story has changed over time.
Yeah, it has. So I do not have a history of breast cancer in my family that I know of. And yeah, you kind of touched us a little bit, like we don't always share historically in the family as well. But so that was, so I never really thought about me ever even having the potential of getting breast cancer. However, I have always like worked in like healthcare and specific, like in oncology. Like I started off my career as a farm tech working in an oncology practice, like drawing up chemo meds for breast cancer. So I had the education and the understanding about cancer, breast cancers, and the importance of checking like once a month, blah, blah, blah. So that was like kind of ingrained in me just because that was the work I was doing for so many years. And ironically, I ended up leaving the oncology space like 4 months before I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a startup and do something different. Still in healthcare, but I was like, I wanted, branch out, do something different. Been doing for so long, but for me, I always been, all about health and wealth. I hike, I run, I'm a fitness coach. I love being healthy, being whole, and I know my body. And for me, I found the lump, and when I was in the shower, my regular check, and I remember thinking, and it was like right before we were doing our vow renewal, our 10-year vow renewal. We were going to Dominican, and it was like a month before that. And I was like, but it's a little lumpy, but I'll keep an eye on it. And the next month we went, we had a good time. And as soon as I got back, I'm like, it's still here. And yeah, that's not good. So I went immediately, like, got an appointment with my primary care, and it was like, hey, I feel this. And I showed her, can you feel this? And she's like, yeah, I feel it. But you're only 38, you don't really, start getting mammogram on 40. And I'm like, yeah, but this doesn't belong here. So she was like, okay, we'll push it then. So, and I think that's important too, to know that you can push back and say, I understand what the guidelines say, but I know my body, this shouldn't be here. And so luckily I was able to get in and get that done.
The nuance between like a 38 and 42 is also like, ma'am, I'm
there.
Great.
I don't want to admit it, but
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
I was knocking on the door. Yeah.
Can I also say something? Sorry. I just want to point out that if you feel a new lump at any point, if you're 38, if you're 28, if you're 18, you shouldn't get pushback from your doctor. They should evaluate you. If you're under the age of 30, they should get an ultrasound. If you're over the age of 30, they should get an ultrasound and a mammogram. Like there shouldn't be any pushback if there's this new area of concern within your breast. Like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. But
all ladies hear that should not happen.
It should happen, right?
Doctors are told what Candace just told us. So
exactly, and feeling empowered to say that, actually, this is a symptom, and I think we look into it. So I was able to get in immediately, and I have dense breasts as well. And so we got the mammogram. They're like, you have very dense breasts. I do kind of see something, not sure. So, and so we kept pushing, and everything happened really fast. So we were able to immediately go in and get an MRI. I got an ultrasound, and they were like, yes, we get a biopsy. And then the biopsy came back. And I remember, I understood about breast cancer because, like I said, I've worked in oncology for so long. I worked in private practice. I worked with EMR. So I understand so much. But when they came back with triple negative, I was like, I don't think I heard of that. Wait a minute. And I remember meeting with the breast navigator before that, and she kind of glossed over triple negative real quick. She these are different types, blah, blah. Triple negative, it's less than 15%, so glossed over it. But when it came back that was what I had, I was like, wait a minute. And then I did my own research, and luckily, I've had experience with data and analytics, and they were able to pull up some studies and say oh, this is more likely in Black women, and this is, this would contribute to mortality rates. And I'm like, okay, let me find out more. And I was like, there's not a lot. It wasn't a lot. And that also worried me. I'm like, why is there not a lot of data about other, about what I should be doing? Why is the treatment, the treatments that I got was the old school Adrius Cytoxan, the Taxol, the old 30 something, 40 years old, so it's these old, there's nothing else new. So I'm looking into the other studies. But I'm also very thankful that I at least had that awareness and education to dig and find that. And for me, I want to make sure, now that I came back at stage 1, I'm thankful for that. I did my genetics testing. I did not have the BRCA1 genes, so I'm thankful for that. So I have so much to be thankful for. But a part of that journey, included in my spiritual journey with that, was that I knew I needed to use my voice to make sure every other woman had just as much, education experience or even more than I did going in. So that way we can live, like I want to live, and I want to make sure that, women like me live as well and have that opportunity. So I'm aware that is not something that everyone has. The tools that I have, the resources, the people that I knew in the industry, like that's not everyone's story, but we can change that, to make sure that everyone has the tools and empowerment and resources they need to get the care they need before you even think about you might even need it. Know where to find it for a sister or a friend or a cousin. Just having that resource is important.
Right. I think one of the things that you mentioned that's really important is that you had a patient or a nurse navigator who helped you through the journey and talked you through things. Unfortunately, not all cancer facilities have that, but if, heaven forbid, anyone watching is diagnosed, you should definitely ask to see if there is someone who is a nurse navigator who can help with that, because they can be extremely helpful by like being at your appointments, making sure that you're following up with things, because it can be a lot of information that you're given at once. So making sure, like the next step after the biopsy is following back up with the surgeon to see what the next steps are, things like that. And they'll even coordinate with your physicians and keep all of your physicians in the loop with what's going on. And then also I wanted to make sure that everyone, if something like this does happen, to bring one of your family members or someone who you think is an advocate for yourself, a close friend, who will be able to listen to things while you're still sort of processing it and ask the right questions.
That's some of the best advice, because again, like, my mom describes this room when you find you have cancer and the room just goes black, and you just like don't know which way the door is anymore, and it's like, how can we, young women in breast health, young survivors, make that room a little less dark, right? It's still going to be scary. I cannot tell you how, like, it must, like, I'm going to freak out if that happens to me. I'm going to literally, and I'm prone to throw tantrums. So like, everybody watch out if that happens. So, but you know what I mean? Like, if we can just provide a little less dark, a little more crack of a light, so people can, not feel as scared and have that person with them to kind of guide them to the door. I think that's crucial, which gets me to Cassandra as somebody who like legitimately was making that room a little less dark for our good friend Ari.
Yes, so I've always been a big advocate of like learning about preventative health and just health and wellness in general. And before my friend Ari got diagnosed, like breast health and breast cancer, especially within the Black community, wasn't really something I thought about. And to actually learn about that disparity was really crazy. And for that to happen to someone close to me and so close in age to me, I mean, we're the same age, it was really unheard of for me. So I'm very grateful to have access to this knowledge and just to be able to share it and to have conversations. Like with my girlfriends, we often talk about different things going on health-wise, like family history is a big part of that too, because we lose family due to things like this. So just knowing that that we do have each other when it comes to this and we aren't alone. And I definitely agree with the importance of advocating for yourself. If you need to have an advocate also, how much that would help, but just knowing yourself, knowing your baseline, knowing your health, and trying to take care of yourself every day. Like it will make all the difference. So.
And I was just I'm always talking to somebody. And now I forgot my point. Oh no, I was talking to Laura Crandon from Touch for Life. She's in the DC area and also does a lot of work in the Black genomic space. And I love her. But she was one of her community groups and like kind of support groups. She likes to have a collab of both survivors, but also Black women just who are wanting to know things, because, and Jennifer, you could speak to this and more than anyone else could here. Like you want to know that you're still normal. Like you don't want to think that like this is like my life has changed drastically, which it has, but it's like I still go grocery shopping. I still do the thing, I still like go get a wax every, whatever the things are, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to not make people feel ostracized or different given this thing that, like, you didn't do this to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, this is not because you did something. And if anything, it's generations of systemic inequalities that that may lead to maybe our eating habits or things that, like, you would blame yourself for, but it's like, no, that's a long time ago. You know, those things started a long way before us. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. I feel like, again, this is a really cool space because I do feel like we're all at different phases of Black breast cancer. I also realized I did not introduce myself in this moment. I'm Haley Brown. I'm the Director of Programs and Partnerships for Touch. My mom is an 11-year survivor. And she has always been everything to me. We've always been close. Now we are even closer. I think that we should be on that show Smothered. It's like, mom, we belong there. I think that, and you know, I could have a Discovery Plus moment. But I would love to now hear about just like, what are some things that you do in your routines that you may not have done before, given where you are in your Black breast health journey? And I asked that because I did see, Dr. Candace, you made a face when Dr. Nia was talking about getting a mammogram / MRI every other year. What would you recommend in this moment?
I don't think that I can say exactly what I would recommend professionally without knowing what her exact genetic mutation is and her family history. I do know that for patients who are higher risk, like BRCA1 or 2 patients for sure, we start doing MRIs at age 25, sometimes a little sooner. And then we start mammograms at age 30, and they're typically annual. And then I know for my high-risk patients who have a risk above 20% lifetime risk of having breast cancer, who are above the age of 40, typically we do MRI and mammogram every year, and we'll sort of alternate them so that you're doing something every 6 months. So mammogram 1 month, and then MRI in 6 months, and then mammogram in another 6 months. So basically it's each one is 1 per year, but you're getting something every 6 months.
That's good to take back to my doctor.
So,
No, I too intend to follow this plan. Thank you.
I'm gonna get 2 in a year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a why not, you know? It's like, it's just a why not, you know?
or at least 1 a year. I'm not sure how old you are now, because before the age of 40, then a lot of times we'll just do 1 thing a year. But after the age of 40, if you're at elevated risk, then typically we'll do, most places will do both of those each year.
Thank you.
Love it. Love it. So now that you are
Picking up on my face, I'm sorry.
I know.
He does not have a poker face. I noticed it too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I also I call it facial diarrhea. It's real.
Me too.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. I've been to now multiple dance performances this weekend. As I said, my nieces had a show on Friday night and yesterday morning. I had a show last night, and great dance family we have. The whole family is coming up, like it's great. But some of the older girls and my little nieces, I was like, ooh, and my face was just like very, very clear, and I should not have been in the front row. My nieces were great though, adorable, loving it, having the time of their life, which is all I care about. But I think we have to be expressive, right? I think it's important to be. I think that like we have to be in tune with people's emotions. The same way that my mom is like, until doctors start practicing the golden rule, we're not going to get treated the way we want to be treated. As a teacher, I always told my kids to treat people better than they wanted to be treated, you know, and that's how I hope that we're moving to that space where doctors are be doing that. And our HBCU internship is great for that, because I feel like we're like, you know, putting our little tidbit into these young doctors who hopefully will then be, you know, people like Dr. Candace who have empathy and care and look like us, you know. But Jennifer, what does your care look like now? Because I know that my mom had many different iterations after the TNBC, and And yeah, what does your care look like?
So for me, I'm only just over a year out of like treatment. So I'm learning the new normal, right? So what is, after surgery, after chemo, after radiation, what is my new breast feel like? You know what I mean? So I actually my routine is more like a weekly or bi-weekly versus monthly, because I'm trying to get adjusted to what my new normal is. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a more regular like breast self exam on a regular basis every couple weeks. And not only do I do that, I go by like, how does it look? How does it feel? How do I feel? Like, so there's so many different pieces of that. And in addition to that, I'm starting to incorporate with my daughters the same, like, how often are you checking? Like, with Dr. Candace in her seminar, she had like this little door handle thing you put up your shower. So I'm like, do you have that in your shower? Are you using that to remind you, like, you should be, you should doing your regular exam, understand what your normal is. And even as like a fitness coach, people come to me like, health, wellness first, like, yeah, you make sure you're eating right, you're exercising, and you're checking your breast on a regular basis as well. So, I mean, just make it a part of the day to day. So for me, I'm kind of figuring out like, what is like my new normal? And then and that, even though I'm also getting like I kind of like similar to what Dr. Hans was saying with the 6 months, every 6 months, I'm either there for a mammogram or I'm getting MRI or, so on a regular basis. And I'll continue to do that because I had triple negative. It'll probably be for the next like 5 years. That'll be like my regimen. But in that in between time, I'm trying to understand like, okay, what is my new breast feel like, right? Is this my new normal? Should I be, like looking at like the skin around, all the different pieces for me. And now I'm starting to get to a point where, okay, I think I'm starting to feel a little normal, a little back to regular. And so I gauge that in many ways. So that's my regular, but on top of that, making sure my daughters, even though they're young and 21 and 24, like, or they're getting used to doing it on a regular basis now. And also I quiz them when they go to their doctor appointments, like, well, you're going to tell your doctor, okay, what type of cancer did I have? And when did I, do you know all these things? Yes, I know, let's go over it. And then when they come back, what do they say? Oh, okay. So I think that's helpful too, just drilling it, making sure they know, like I said, you can never be too young, and now's the time for them as well.
I think that's really important sorry, Haley, I think it's really important that you sort of prep your daughters too, because a lot of people go into the doctor's office and they're like, I don't know what to ask. You tell me. And it's like, it's important that you told them like some information to know ahead of time. That way they're actively engaged in things. And even if you don't know what to ask whenever you go to the doctor's office, try to have a pen and a paper so that you can like jot down notes, look stuff up, get back to them with questions. They should always be responsive, or some person in their staff or their nursing staff should be responsive if there are any questions that you have afterwards. So I think it's really great that you're doing that, Jennifer. And I encourage everyone watching and everyone part of this to do that too.
Yeah, no, I'm a copious notes taker. I'm going to turn on my computer and show you how non-digital I am. This is my other computer. Those sticky notes. It's embarrassing. That's how I use this beautiful computer. But no, I was going to say, take copious notes. I think it's a great point, because not everybody can have someone with them, right? The reality of as a young woman, you might be, I spent most of my 20s living in California, where if my mom could live with me, she would have, but still I wasn't that close to my immediate family. So in moments of health concerns, it was important to go take copious notes. And write down like even those small details, because don't get home and read your notes and say, I don't know what these things were. You know what I mean? So like take the notes, even can you record on your phone?
If you're in the doctor's office, you should ask them. I think there are various laws in various states, but typically ask them if it's okay to record so you can remember in the future.
Yeah.
Most doctors will say yes. And also, if you don't understand something while they're talking, just ask them.
For sure. No, for sure. Before I move on to Cassandra to kind of talk more about, again, this like, where are you in your breast health journey? I want to pull up something that she helped me create, Dr. Candace, as well. So back to the website. please, guys, go to the website. There's really something for everybody here. It's just so inviting too. So we are taking the fear out of this disease and making it approachable, because you don't have to die from this if you find it early. So this is early detection, everything. So like Dr. Candace said, Black women are dying at disproportionate rates, and it's really, really crazy to hear. And kind of like you said, Jennifer, everyone that I interact with will say, oh, I do know someone that had cancer in my family, but they don't know what kind. They don't know any details about it. And so I think, well, let's start talking about those details, And so if you scroll down to this place here, resource about unlocking your Her Story, go to this worksheet. You can download it. I can send you some, whatever you need, but this worksheet is really, really comprehensive. This is something that we ran by our Dr. Candace's, our Young Women's Advisory Board, like Cassandra, to make sure that this was going to be edible to you and to everyone. And so if you see here too, we're not just talking about breast cancer, we're getting into all the nitty gritty of what your Black family might experience. Obviously there could be more, but you know what I mean? We want people to be concerned about their health in general, right? It goes back to that wellness, that whole body health. And then you are going to need to talk about your mom's side and your dad's side. We are talking genetics. I always state this because it's really important to me to acknowledge not every family looks like this. And I want to honor those different family structures. I taught for 8 years and I saw all different kinds of families that were crushing it. So this is just for genetic purposes. And really get into your mom's side, dad's side, their relationship to you. Because again, there's different, I don't know the things, but there are different differences in terms of it was an aunt or like a great aunt, things like that. And then how old were they when they were diagnosed? That's also very, very important, and how they're sort of doing now. At the bottom, you'll see some questions about breast density and genetic testing, all good stuff. And yeah, so please do this worksheet. It's going to help you with your Her Story. It's going to just put you in a better place to talk to your doctor, So Nia, what you got, boo?
Just quick question. So if someone is adopted, what is the recommendation? At what age should they speak with their physician, regarding what type of screening they should have, since they may not know they're in the cancer history?
Yeah, great question. So it would still be pretty much the same as far as starting with a risk assessment at age 25. Whatever information they do have, we could use in order to try to calculate their risk. There are things that go into your risk assessment other than your family history, such as when you started having periods, whether or not you've had breast biopsies in the past, whether or not you've been pregnant, and whether or not you've breastfed or taken oral contraceptives or hormone replacement. So those things all play into the calculation of whether or not you are higher risk. The portion that we don't really know, obviously, would be the family history, in which case at our facility at Stanford, we have genetic counselors that you would talk with about all of that and assess whether or not you would be eligible for genetic testing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, so the screening age just all went down from 50 to 40, correct? That's correct, right, Dr. Candace?
Sorry, what did you just say? I was reading.
It went down from 50 to 40, correct?
Yes, that's a great point. So technically, there are multiple different organizations that give recommendations on what age to start mammograms. So there is the U.S. Representative Task Force, which is the one that recently came out with a draft. So it's not even official for them yet, but they are changing their recommendations from starting mammograms at age 50 to starting mammograms at age 40. However, it's very important to know that a lot of other organizations have already recommended to start mammograms at age 40. So they're sort of a little bit behind things. And then in addition to it, typically the organizations will say anywhere from having an annual mammogram to having a biannual, so every other year mammogram. Typically, I recommend my patients to just continue with annual mammograms starting age 40. The thing that's very important to know, though, is your risk assessment to know whether or not you're at elevated risk, to know whether or not you need to have mammograms earlier than age 40. So that's why it's very important to see your doctor and to talk about this starting at age 25.
Yeah, my mom, when that article came out, she was
I know I was on the emails.
hot, okay? Because she was like, 50 to 40, that's just not good enough. She was about to like blow a gasket, okay? So she hit up all of her doctor friends and was like, what do you think? What do you think? And it was hilarious because they, for people who have just been like fighting this battle for decades, have been like, Ricky, this is progress.
It is
No,
progress.
we're not there yet, but it is progress. And we have to at least acknowledge the progress there. But when because you know, she's a writer by trade, so she went and read every like piece of this. And as you can see on the chat, that she's still hot. But what she realized in that research was that recommendation by I want to say the acronym, but it's not going to come out right.
So the U.S. Preventative Task Force.
Thank you. I'm glad I asked you. Everything that they said was like the caveat or little asterisk was like for women at average risk.
Right. And that's the caveat for most of the organizations. Like there's the ACR, there's NCCN, there's there are a few others, and there's SSO, and they all say there is that caveat for all of them. So the reason why we can't say that patients need to have mammograms earlier than age 40 as a blanket statement is because the research that we have shows that 40 is the safe age to start, and the amount of lives that you save before 40 doesn't increase unless the patient is at high risk. So that's why I really need to stress the importance of knowing your risk and knowing whether or not you need to we are currently doing some research on it. But yes, sorry, I'm looking at all of what Ricky's saying. But yes, we just need to know to get your risk assessment starting at age 25. And Black women, we do know that Black women are at elevated risk for a lot of these things. So it's really important as Black women to get risk assessed.
Yeah, I think too, the last thing I want to say, because Cassandra, the floor is yours after this, is that understanding your breast density is something that usually you learn that at your first mammogram. And so I think the issue is like, you don't even know you have dense breasts until someone told you to get a mammogram at 40. And now we're already in this situation, right? And so understanding your breast density in a way that could help you get that information too as a part of your risk assessment at 25, because that could, lead to better screening. Candace, your face again, say it.
I'm sorry, there's something in my eye.
Okay.
I was going to say a few things about breast density. So the who came out with it? Sorry, I'm forgetting the acronym. It wasn't ACR, but there was a recent. Sorry, I want to know that. I'll look up the acronym, but now we have to, the radiologists have to tell you what your breast density is on your mammogram. And as Haley was saying, the only way for you to know whether or not you have dense breast tissue is by looking at your mammogram or looking at your mammogram report, and it will tell you if you have dense breast tissue. It will say either extremely dense or heterogeneously dense. And especially for those with extremely dense breast tissue, that's when we would recommend having an adjunct such as a 3D mammogram in addition to the regular mammogram. Or you can also have an ultrasound, a whole breast ultrasound, or an MRI in order to better differentiate if there is something within the breast that's being missed on mammogram. And again, that's not all three of those together. You get the mammogram, and then you would also get either a 3D mammogram with that, or you would get an ultrasound or a breast MRI.
Love it. Thank you again. I love these because it's just like, I find out new things every time, and I know that our audience does.
Oh, the FDA, sorry, it's the FDA that came out with the recommendation.
Oh, those guys, those little guys. But Cassandra, how do you, as like a young woman living your life in like at 24, I believe, correct?
Yes.
With your cute little boyfriend, by the way. But how do you integrate breast health into your routine as somebody who like maybe thought about it before, but like doesn't necessarily feel like they need to yet, but knows that you should, you know?
So at this point in my life, I am just pretty aware of like checking them monthly, and I try to remember to do it the right time of the month. So I know Candace mentioned like something that she has hanging in her shower. I think that's such a great idea. But yeah, so just definitely checking myself regularly and knowing what feels normal, so I know if anything ever doesn't feel normal, I know what that would be like. So yeah.
Totally. I think that's the best. And if you, back to the website really quickly, if you are somebody who's like, where am I in my breast health journey? I want you to come and think of this as like one of those like 90s quizzes that we all took from magazines at some point in life. And so it's like, do you know that you should be checking your girls, right? Do you know that Black breast health exists? And so if you're like, hell yeah, great. If you're never thought about it, then it's going to take you back up to the top of the website so you can really learn those facts. If you're somebody who's like, I do know, I don't know how to do this. I want to, but I don't know how. This link here will take you to YSC's Tit Check, which is another great resource. And then if you are somebody who knows how, but doesn't know how to get it into your routine in a meaningful way, this link will link you to the Know Your Lemons app, which is amazing. I'm using it as well. And it's just really user-friendly. And then again, if you are someone who knows or does like feel something unusual, hit us up. You know what I mean? I feel like it's always go see a doctor, go get it checked, go do the thing, because you never know. And it's always better to be in the know in these situations. I think a lot of young women fear going to the doctor because inherently you understand it as sick care, or like we go when we're sick. It's really easy to go when we're sick. But we have to start going more when we're healthy, you know, and actually have health care visits, which I did a couple months ago, and I felt very positive about myself. And actually, because I had done a healthcare visit, when I did get sick a month later with, you know, the allergy junk going around, I felt even better at my doctor because I had already established a relationship and like done the preemptive work, you know, so that felt really positive for me. So tell me, you guys, what else is going on? What else is on your mind right now in terms of Black breast health? Yeah, go.
Can we get like those hook tags or lanyards that you have in your shower? I think that's really good. I think you should like send that around the world. I think that's really important.
Yes, of course. I can you can respond to our email, and I can send you some for sure.
I love them, by the way. I think they're great. Both my daughters have them in their shower too, so they're super cool.
Yeah, and Know Your Lemons has some cool resources too. And then also, it's funny because my fiance will make fun of me for doing this on camera, but we made, Mom, let's make more new ones of these, but with a new logo, please. But these are our Love of My Girls bonnets, which I made because this is what I look crazy.
Yes.
Oh my God, please take a picture of this. This is hilarious. But please, this is what I want you thinking about your breasts, right? It's when you're in your bonnet. It's when you're doing your routine. You're already in the mirror, right? Trying to fix up something. And you're either going to bed or you're in the morning. And it's just a really fun time reminder to like check your breasts, you know? Yeah. So like, I think it's really important for us to not think of this as an extra thing and just build it into your routine like you normally would. You know what I mean? There are so many things that we do every month. Why not add this one to the equation? You know? So yeah, if you guys had some like last pieces of advice to tell young women, or any other part of your story that you would like to share, please do so.
Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking to my dog, but
You can probably hear my dog barking outside too. I'm here for you, no worries.
so for me, just definitely see how you can take care of yourself every day. Like just prioritize taking care of yourself so you can really enjoy your life. You can feel good in your body. Like I feel like there's no better feeling than that. So yeah, prioritize yourself.
Mhm.
I would say eat healthy. I had a friend of mine telling me that he still eats pig feet. So I, don't do that. And education. Yeah, just eat healthy, don't smoke, things like that. I think our culture loves to like get lit and smoke hookah and do all these things. And I get it. Like I'm shamefully have done that. But it's not healthy. We shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, one more quick caveat. I've just spent so much, not again, coming on my first year of this work. And so now I feel like I know the people and like have built a really fun community. And I was talking to our good friend Tia Tomlin in Atlanta, and she runs My Style Matters. So if you ever need resources about things to put on your body and in your body, she's your girl. Because I think that was the treatment that not only worked for her, but she chose it. And so it works for her even in a better way, because it like, she gets really tagged. It's a whole body experience. So attack it like that. And so you can just be your healthiest self.
For me, I mean, the best advice I can say is normalize your health, normalize breath health. Remember, health, it really is wealth. It is, money can't buy it, you can't steal it, no one can give it to you. It's all up to you. And that type of like deposits and nourishment you're giving to yourself today, you'll never regret either, doing the health and wellness things to sustain yourself today. You'll never get that tomorrow. So, but you will regret the other way around. So just remember that health is wealth. Continue chasing after that.
Yeah.
What are you telling your daughters? What does your conversation look like with them too?
So with them, I'm telling them the same thing, like health is wealth, but the full health, you know what I mean? And like I'm their mom, so I realize that they're not going to tell me everything. So, I also encourage them to like, meet with their therapist on a regular basis and talk to them about me and my craziness, or do that. But there's so many ways to be healthy and understand that we're not always going to get it right. I'm not going to get it right as a mom, right? I'm always going to get it right. But having resources and support around you is very helpful. So I'm going to do whatever I can to tell you everything about breast health, but they're also probably going to get sick of it. So I'm like, well, look at Haley, look at this, look at this, for the love of your girl side. And it's not just coming from me. So for me, I'm giving it to them, but also knowing that they're hearing it with the mom filter. So giving them other resources around them, whether it's a therapist, a friend, a cousin, or, cousin Haley over here as well. So just to understand, like, it's not just me, it's everyone, but pouring into them. And even though if they're not hearing everything that I'm saying, they're going to get it from somewhere. So.
Yeah, that's really important. And I would say, be your own advocate for your health. Make sure that you bring someone with you whenever you go to the doctor's office, and never be afraid to ask questions or ask for another opinion if needed.
Yeah, I mean, this has been amazing. Thank you guys so much. Back to your point, Jennifer, I'm a Leo sun. I'm Leo moon. I'm just as loud on the inside.
Triple Leo?
I'm an Aquarius rising,
Okay.
which means I'm moving to the more introverted version of myself. So this is actually the calmest I've ever been. But I say that to say, like, I as a young woman, I don't like being told what to do. As Jennifer, it doesn't sit well. My mom will yell at me to go to the doctor all day long. And even though I'm talking to her, I'm like, yeah. It's like, I just still, and so it is nice to hear from other people. And I just hope that young women who are listening to this come join our village. Our village has multiple moms, multiple daughters. Like, that is just how we operate. And sometimes you do have to hear information from the right person at the right time for you to actually act on it, and so all the stubborn people out there like me, take it in, try, like, hear all the things, because we need to. And next thing you know, you're telling everybody else and their mom, and like, it's just, we're paying it forward.
Yep.
Last thing, we have, if you're in the DC area, we have an awesome book signing event with Charity Elder this upcoming Thursday. I met her at South by Southwest, and Ari and I were like, oh my God, you're great. I love you. So we're bringing her to DC. It's going to be at a store really focused on female empowerment. And so that'll be really great. Other events coming. My mom has some women trial events across the country. So look out for those flyers online. Follow us at loveofmygirls.org. Go to the website, Love of My Girls. Go to the website, loveofmygirls.org. Join the mission, do our survey. And we will also be at New York City Pride, which is going to be really, really exciting, because I think that I want to got to get in that community as well.
Yes.
Any other thoughts, guys?
Can I make a quick suggestion?
Please.
The bonnet, make it longer. So when we have our braids, we can.
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I was thinking the same thing. You had it on. Like, how gonna get?
Because I could do it now with my hair out, but once I get my braids tomorrow, I need something a little longer.
I got
Yes.
you. Perfect. Thank you.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's just like when you're already like thinking about those things and doing your routine. So yeah.
Because we're always going to make sure our hair is good. So that's good. And we're always going to take a shower. And that's why the tag is there. So I love it.
Yes. Or put the tag on your other mirror, because not everybody showers like that. But
And Lee.
I'm trying to save some water out here. But I showered today. Anyways, guys, please stay in touch with your girls. It's just so important. And as you can see from this wealth of knowledge here and wealth of experience here, hit us up. We're here to talk. I had this conversation. On this call currently, we are representing DC, Oakland, California, Austin, Texas, I believe, and Philly. So like, we are all over the place. Please come and reach out if you ever need any resources. And we look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you
Happy
for having us.
Table Talk.
Bye.
Bye.